Beryl is getting better organized and starting to strengthen rather quickly, at least based on the last couple of Recon reports. We'll be talking about that. And after it makes its fourth landfall as a hurricane, we'll see where the moisture's all going to wind up. Meanwhile, it's been hot and steamy, and it's going to stay hot and steamy for another couple of days in the eastern part of the United States. And they actually got some rain today. Yippee! An inch and three quarters of rain and a thunderstorm late this afternoon. So I'm a happy camper. And we're all happy campers here on this Sunday night, the 7th of July. And this is the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, which is brought to you by Tempest by Weatherflow. The revolutionary Tempest weather system is yours for the asking. And if you get it, you become a member of the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link is on the description to this podcast. And if you use the coupon code SUMMER 2024, you will get 10% off. Good evening, everybody. Hang on. I will let Joe Rayo in. It's taken him a while to show up on my window. And hope everybody had a great 4th of July weekend, because I certainly did. And I see Mr. Rayo is here.
Yes.
And yes, just telling everybody that I had a really nice 4th of July weekend. I went fishing yesterday, Joe. I got 4 spotted bass. And everybody, there were 3 of us on the trip, my daughter, my son-in-law, and myself, and we each caught 4 fish. Although we scored basis based on the types of fish that we caught. So if you caught a hybrid bass, striped bass, spotted bass, you got 3 points. If you caught a spotted bass, you got 2 points. And anything else, you got 1 point. So my son-in-law caught 2 hybrids, so he caught 4 fish and got 9 points. I caught 4 spotted bass and got 8 points, and my daughter caught uh, a hybrid, 2 spotted bass, and a catfish for 8 points. So I
Now,
finished.
did you keep any of them, or did you all throw
No,
them back?
they all went back.
Okay.
I'm a catch and release type of guy.
Well, you're a catch and release type of guy, and there was nobody among the 3 of you who cared to scale or
Yeah, no,
scan.
I don't clean.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I don't clean. When it was on Long Island, I could take the fish I caught to the fish market, and they would clean them for you, and they wouldn't even charge you for it. You just tip the guy a couple of bucks, and they were happy to do it. So, no, I'm not doing that. I'm just not. So anyway, um, very interesting. I was thinking about this just before the show started. So Beryl, which based on the last recon where the pressure dropped 3 millibars in an hour, and I want to see the next fix to see if that's the beginning of that rapid strengthening trend that the Hurricane Center has been talking about that was possible before landfall. But if it becomes a hurricane, and I'm probably might get to minimal hurricane, it's almost there now. This hurricane would have made landfall as a hurricane in 4 different spots, and just trying to rack my brains. Not many storms do that. Windward Islands, Jamaica, past just south of the Cayman Islands, then into the Yucatan Peninsula. That would be 3, and then a 4th landfall as a hurricane on the Texas coast.
And this storm system, I was hearing this morning from other sources saying that this could even get up to a Category 2 because the waters are so warm just off of the Texas coast. But I say,
well, there's a history of storms deepening rapidly off the Texas coast. That's not impossible. Now, the
no.
Hurricane Center, you mentioned it in their discussion. I think it was in their 8 a.m., 5 a.m. or 11 a.m. Technical discussion about maybe getting to a Cat 2.
Well, Cat 1, Cat 2, whatever like that, still bad news for much of the Texas Gulf Coast. Storm surge, and of course, something they really do not need since they had quite a bit just several weeks ago, and that's rain. Anywhere from, depending upon where you are relative to the storm track, 5 to 10 or 6 to 12 inches or 4 to 8 inches. But in any event, it's a bad way to start the week. if you are in or anywhere near the Texas Gulf Coast, thanks to Beryl.
All right, I got the I have the recon up, so we'll bring that up in just a second. Just a big hello to everybody on the chat board. Welcome to tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. We're on Sunday through Thursday at 7:35, and Fridays and Saturdays as an off day, unless there's a storm going on. And if there is, we'll let you know about it. Subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss us. Turn your notifications on, and of course, if you like the show, it's always nice to show us that you like the show by hitting the like button. So this is the recon that's in there now. So 991, 990, 989, then it was 986. And on the last fix, it almost moved straight north, and it's a 98. The fix on that was 988. So I want to see, you don't want to see just between, two fixes here. It dropped 3 millibars, and then it went back up 2 millibars. So there's a lot of volatility here when it comes to these sorts of things. So we'll need to see more fixes. There's still time. It's not exactly racing to the coast. There probably at least another 6 or 7 hours before it makes landfall, maybe even a little bit longer than that. So we'll see how it goes. We'll certainly, I'm sure the folks at the Hurricane Center are glued to their screens trying to figure out what this thing is going to do. And my question is, being that this is going to go inland and then turn northeastward, some of the models are bringing rain up. It looks like it wants to go lower lakes, northern Ohio Valley, and then the rain shifts across upstate New York and New England, and we're sort of on the southern edge of that. Then there's a frontal boundary that is associated with it. So I'm not 100% sure yet how this is going to play out as far as any impacts rain wise during the second half of this week.
Well, generally speaking, if you are on the left side of the storm track, that's where the heaviest rains usually occur. Now, I'm not really sure about, a storm that has gone so far inland, whether or not there's going to be still, heavy duty rains or showers or even a bit of convection associated with Beryl. If so, that would be for Illinois, western sections of Indiana, northern Ohio, and even on up into Ontario. And the New York area, the tri-state area, might actually see some gusty winds out of this. And maybe a few showers. But right now, I wouldn't, I wouldn't say something to the effect of leading off the weather coverage of any newscast by saying,
well, you wouldn't. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
But some other people might.
Well, to get the ratings up, and the rain from Beryl heading this way. How much will we get? How much wind will we get? Will we see the same? And then they'll show you footage from, let's say, the Texas Gulf Coast of people battening down for a Category 1 hurricane and giving the impression initially to those who really aren't in the know that, oh my goodness, that hurricane we've been hearing about, Charlie, it's coming this way. That kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, it's only Sunday. And there's still time for everything that you just described to happen.
Absolutely.
There's plenty of time for what you described to happen. So here's what it looks like on the satellite loop. And I mean, definitely you could see the signature over the course of the day. I'm going to add a few frames here. Let's go to 84 frames, which will take us to last night. And certainly from what it looked like early this morning to what it looks like now, you could see that the convection around the center has been bursting, and there's banding going on, and it looks like there's the beginnings of an eye wall trying to close. And I'm just judging from the floater image, it looks like it's still kind of wobbling northwestward. But it definitely looks like it's trying to strengthen here before the center comes ashore, which will probably be sometime during the early morning hours.
Yeah, if it does, it'll wait till the last minute. Excuse me, it'll wait till the last minute to do that. But when it does, we'll be on top of it for you and let you know what the story is. Right now, it looks like, though, regardless of whether it's a very strong tropical storm or whether or not it's going to be a Cat 1 hurricane. Still bad news all around the Texas Gulf Coast because the sheer strong winds and also the. I mean, I was listening to a civil defense person down in Texas, and he was like almost begging people. I said, please, if you're near or around the coastal areas, leave now because come tomorrow morning, you won't be able to with all of the rain and all the wind and everything else that's going to be happening. So uh, it's what can I say? It's going to be a lousy start to the week on a Monday tomorrow for those who live down again along the Texas Gulf Coast.
Well, I'm bringing up the hazards map here, so let's see what we can see with regards to observations and winds. And I'm suspecting you're probably not going to see a whole heck of a lot. Let me just populate this a bit more so we've got more numbers to look at. Um, excuse me. And the other thing I would want to do is just make this a little prettier. So let's change the base map to something a little prettier. I think this, to match it up with the satellite, is will work. Of course, now that I did that, the observations did come back. So at least now this is as of 7:48 Eastern time. I'm just looking here along the coast. I mean, you've got a couple of gusts right now. Remember, the center's still pretty far offshore. Is Matagora Island at gusting to 31. We have the Port Aransas Mustang Beach Airport, which I've been to, by the way, is gusting there to 30. And a little further south on Padre Island, on North Padre Island station there, gusting to 37 and gusting to 21 at a station just to the south there. It's called Maritime BAB2, which is south of Corpus Christi. There is a 30-mile-an-hour wind gust at the Corpus Christi International Airport. Now, on the buoys offshore, there's one called East Breaks 643/Boomerang Spar, Joe. Boomerang Spar. They're southeast at 43, gusting to 60. And that's probably not too far. Their center's probably somewhere even with Brownsville. And then another one, buoy 42019, they are gusting to 42, wave height of 15 feet, 15.4 feet every 10 seconds. The other one, the East Breaks buoy there, not reporting any wave height there, so that's that. And the one that's even way further out, the Gunnison oil platform, not reporting any wave heights there, just a 20-mile-an-hour wind. And even further out, the East Cameron oil rig is reporting 28, gusting to 33. So it's a limited number of stations, but at least for now, as of 10 minutes of 8 Eastern time, 10 minutes of 7 Central time, don't see any gale force winds along the coast at the moment.
Well, if you look at the visible satellite pictures of Beryl, she still looks rather disorganized. But if you look under the hood, so to speak, at the radar signatures, you can see that Beryl apparently indeed is starting to get its act together again and beginning to swirl and beginning to condense, if I may use that term, to a degree where it most definitely is going to become a Cat 1 storm. And again, because of the very warm Gulf waters, it's not out of the question that it could reach Cat 2, but whether it's a Cat 1 or Cat 2, again, tomorrow morning, bad news along the Texas Gulf Coast.
We should have a new advisory soon, and we do. Maximum sustained winds are now 70 miles an hour, 27.1 north, 95.6 west. So let's check the geography here. Let me pull up the advisory on the other screen so I can read it. Located 170 miles southeast of Matagora, Texas. It is 195 miles east southeast of Corpus Christi, Texas, moving northwest or 40 degrees at 12 miles per hour, and the central pressure that they're carrying. So they had the 986 and then the 988. So they compromised and they went. They're using 987. uh, 29.15 inches, and some changes on the advisory now. The hurricane warning south of Port Aransas, which and Corpus Christi is south of Port Aransas, that's now been changed to a tropical storm warning. The storm surge warning south of Port Aransas, which included Corpus Christi, has been discontinued, which makes sense if you're going to take a center up much further north up the coast. They're going to have north winds there, so that should not cause a problem with storm surge. And tropical storm warning south of Port Mansfield has been discontinued, and that's well south of Corpus Christi, but not quite to Brownsville. Otherwise, the hurricane warning is up from Port Aransas northward to St. San Luis Pass, which is basically Galveston, and the storm surge warning from Port Aransas to Sabine Pass, including Matagorda Bay and Galveston Bay. So you see how the Hurricane Center has it tracking after that, coming inland, turning north, and then northeastward, weakening, of course, once it makes landfall, which is what they always do, and then turning northeastward, following a remnant low, or the D in uh, the white D. So that's either a remnant depression or a remnant low, uh, running through central Arkansas, southeast Missouri, and by Wednesday afternoon, somewhere in south central Indiana, which sort of makes sense that after that, they have the center sitting on the westernmost shores of Lake Ontario on the Canada side. So it does take it. Normally the usual thing, Joe, whenever we see systems like this that take a track up the west side of the Appalachians, they are usually not big rainmakers for eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England. That's been the general history of tropical systems that take tracks similar to this.
Well, the 12Z GFS, the 12Z GFS at 114 hours had a very distinct purplish, very small, very distinct purplish zone over southern Orange County and northern Rockland, which was suggestive of something like 6 to 7 inches of
Uh,
rain.
so are you looking? I have the map up there, so I'll get it. You said it was the 12Z 114 hour.
Correct.
Okay, so it's on the screen, so you can go ahead and repeat what you said.
Yeah, I'm looking at accumulated 24-hour precipitation.
Oh, okay. But this is what the radar looks like at 114 hours, and they've got that big blob of red there in western Rockland and up into Orange and Sullivan counties. So on the precip, uh, yeah, they got that purple spot. Yeah, that looks like it could be, I don't know, 5.5, 6,
Well, pivotal
maybe
weather.
6, 7.
Somebody pointed out on pivotal weather. I know you have that, and it actually gives numbers to
All
look
right.
at. And
Well,
and for that area, for that zone, that's 7.5.
all right. One moment. We can bring it up on the screen. All right. So this was the GFS, correct?
Correct.
All right. So we'll go to the local parameter. All right. Quantitative total QPF. I guess we can use that. And let me change this to forecast loop. Okay. On this one, this is the 18Z. Okay. You said it was the 12Z. So let me switch that now. Let's go to the 12Z. Okay. Oh wow, yeah, look at that. So, hold on.
And that is, and let me point out, and I think you'll agree, Joe, this is so much against what I mentioned before, how usually the zone of the heaviest rains pass to the left or to the north and west of the storm track,
Right.
which would suggest that the heavy rains would be more over, let's say, northwest Pennsylvania, extreme western New York, upstate New York, and not down here in the immediate tri-state area. And in fact, if you make a comparison between the GFS precipitation, 24-hour accumulated precipitation, and the European is going with the grain, so to speak. It's going with the climatology. It is suggesting that the heaviest rains, the heaviest showers coming from the remnants of Beryl by later this week will be indeed over southern Michigan and up across Ontario, western New York.
Right.
That
And as I said, storms that go up the west side of the Appalachians usually do not bring heavy rains to eastern PA to southern New England.
right. Well, tell that to the GFS.
Well, I understand. No, I hear you. Um, yeah, and I certainly you look at the European, although lately, I mean, for more than lately, for quite a while, the European has been in its own squirrely world and hasn't exactly been dependable. Um, I just want to just see what the GFS is looking at. Maybe there's something going on at 500 that's a little different. Um, it does have um, there's some kind of shortwave, upper low, open low shortwave sitting over Lake Michigan at 102 hours. And then it just sort of slides that shortwave along. I mean, maybe it's just sort of trying to interact with that shortwave, and it suddenly, it could also be convective feedback.
I'm also looking. This is not desperation, but I'm also looking at the AI European
Oh,
artificial
okay.
intelligence, and it's basically going with the regular operational European in that it's keeping a lot of the stuff, the heavy duty stuff, well to the north and to the west of the New York tri-state area.
Yeah, it gives. Well, this is now through Sunday, so it actually it only gives like half an inch to an inch, with a couple of areas a little bit more, through 2 p.m. Friday. And this is the AI version, and it actually brings some heavier rain, I guess with thunderstorms, with whatever front that there is over next weekend. But yeah, how is that, really going to play out? I would agree with you in that, if you look at what's going on, it's hard to fathom uh, a big rainfall. If the low were to turn straight east and take a track across, say, Pennsylvania and move off the coast of southern New Jersey, then we'd be having a different conversation.
Right,
And the GFS, at least at the 12Z run, it's got a low into southern Indiana, and actually it takes that low, Joe, into northeastern West Virginia by 78 hours. And then it just slides it. Actually, the surface remnant low, if you want to call it that, and I put my fingers up in quotes here, which you can't see because you're looking at the maps. It's got a low center at 96 hours near Scranton, and just kind of sort of dissolves it right overhead. It almost looks like a stalled frontal boundary with a wave on it. So it's got an odd looking surface, I guess because it's trying to say that that short wave that's swinging through the Great Lakes somehow interacts with this, and instead of taking it up into Canada, it suppresses it further south. And I just want to take a look. I'm going to just go back to the European 500, which I'm sure is going to be quite different. Yeah, the European 500 instead, it's got, it forms an upper low in Michigan Thursday morning, but it lifts it up almost east northeast up into Canada. It never really swings the shortwave around the way the GFS does. And
it
I
doesn't
would,
able to. It doesn't seem to be able to penetrate the building ridge that is
yes,
over
correct,
over New England and eastern Canada.
right, and out in the Atlantic. So basically, there's the difference. The GFS would say, um, the GFS. I'm just going to take a look at that ridge. Let's go back to the 12Z so we can compare that run to this run. Um, Give me a moment here, folks. There are screens jumping around. Um, yeah, the ridge builds, but it doesn't build quite like the European does. And on the GFS at 12Z, it allowed for some room for that short wave that forms over Wisconsin and Lake Michigan to slide almost straight east. Okay, I mean, if that happens, and then we'll be having a different conversation tomorrow with regards to the potential for some heavy rainfall. I would agree with you, though. It would seem to me that that ridge off the Atlantic seaboard is going to be dominant because if we see, you could see what happened here this weekend with this so-called weather front that was supposed to come through on Saturday with showers and thunderstorms. We got next to nothing. I mean, that's how it looked at the middle of last week. And instead of getting, we can't even get the dew points to drop down into the mid 60s,
Right.
which was really the best that we thought would happen, and that's not even happening because the Atlantic ridge is just too strong.
We had said earlier in this past week that we're holding out hope for Sunday to be a bit more comfortable. If for nothing else, we said the dew point temperatures are going to drop to a level where you would be able to at least notice that it's not quite as bad. Well, you know what? Throw that into the circular file because today was still bad. It was bad today, maybe ever so slightly not quite as bad as yesterday, but there really was no relief out there today, and I'm sad to say that there's not really going to be much relief in the coming days ahead.
No, and tomorrow the dew point drops from 71 to 69.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, that's a big relief. Brandon Doherty, thank you for hitting Super Chat tonight. And yes, you did your weather in 5 video. I did not do mine today. But you're asking the question about um, the ridge building from the Azores to the Gulf. Yeah, I'm just kind of running through here on the recent the latest GFS. Yeah, I mean, it does, you know, it's just it's south of the Azores. Actually, it's more of an east-west ridge that goes from the Canary Islands across the Atlantic to the southeast coast and into the southeast coast. So the Atlantic Ridge, it's an east-west type ridge. Now, if that does wind up being the case, in longer term, it would suggest that anything that forms out in the Atlantic would have a westerly it would move westerly for quite a while before you'd have to get into any kind of uh, conversation regarding recurvature. But you got to get this, let's get the systems there first before we start talking about that. But it does suggest that there'll be an east-west ridge across the Atlantic, so things will probably that come off the African coast are going to go west for quite a while.
Yeah, the way Beryl has gone. Remember initially or originally about a week ago, it looked like it wasn't going to make it to Texas. It was going to run aground over the area of Mexico south of Texas. But with each passing computer model run, guidance run, it kept turning it a little bit more to the northeast, more to the northeast. And of course, now what we're into is a situation where the latest official map tracking the remnants of Beryl will be again well to the west and north. But again, if it over the next few days, if it continues to nudge a little bit more to the east, a little bit more to the east, or whatever, then maybe we'll have something to be concerned about here in the tri-state area, rain-wise, by the early middle part of next week. But until then, um, just we'll just play it by ear and track and see what Beryl does. Um, Again, the first big problem will be tomorrow, right along the Texas Gulf Coast.
Right. Well, there's been a short wave since Thursday, a couple of short waves moving through the Dakotas and into the Western Lakes. The second one that came down into the Dakotas yesterday, that that weakened the ridge, and we talked about this last Wednesday that troughing there along 95, 100, 100 west, 105 west uh, was weakness that that the system was going to probably exploit, which is why we're seeing it make the turn. And then, of course, with that trough just kind of holding there for a while, the alleyway is opened up for a track, as Joe pointed out, through southern Missouri, Illinois, northern Indiana, across Michigan, and then over on the Canada side, Toronto or north of Toronto, and then up its merry way up the St. Lawrence River Valley. That to me seems to make the most sense given the what the parameters that are out there.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So that covers that. And since I got the maps up, and then we go back into a few other things, let's just take a look at the surface on the latest GFS run. And this is the radar presentation. Of course, there are going to be places that are going to get heavy rains out of this, clearly. And the track, the low comes inland, uh, west of Galveston and Houston, probably about halfway between the Louisiana coast and the Mexican border, as far as where it is on the coast of Texas. So right about in the middle, and then it moves northward and then turns northeast, and you can see the rains spread up into northeast Texas, eastern Oklahoma, western Arkansas, and then eventually into Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and then running up northeastward. There's this point, of course, it's probably a remnant low or some sort of non-tropical low that'll be analyzed. And again, the GFS is trying to say that this thing doesn't go up the St. Lawrence Valley, but translates east from the west side of the Appalachians and then suddenly jumps to the east side of the Appalachians. And it's got this sort of weird, almost like a stalled frontal boundary that reaches the coast Wednesday night with showers and storms and then just sits there all day Thursday with showers and thunderstorms going on and off Thursday and Friday, mostly away from the coast. It'd be more inland if the GFS was, literally correct. But it would suggest rounds of showers and thunderstorms with tropical moisture for Thursday and Friday. Uh, to me, that does go against the grain, but maybe the GFS has been hitting home runs from time to time in the last couple of months. So perhaps it's a suggestion that the ridging might be a little bit weaker, and that this trough will be able to undercut the ridge. Maybe there's some validity to that. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see tomorrow how the models handle all this. Here's the radar, and I've got it centered here in Texas, so you can see Beryl still offshore. The bands have formed rather nicely, and it looks like the center is trying to close off. So perhaps this will become a hurricane in a few hours. In the meantime, the radars in the northeast are very quiet. And then down into the Carolinas, some thunderstorms from one end of the state to the other. And also in northern South Carolina. And in fact, I had, as I said, was on the tail edge of these thunderstorms that formed in northeast Georgia, and I was able to squeeze out almost a couple of inches of rain. We also got some showers and storms in South Georgia. And we've got some showers and thunderstorms across much of Louisiana into northeast Texas. We're seeing some areas of severe weather in parts of Oklahoma and northwest Texas. Some showers and storms and some heavier thunderstorms in parts of western Illinois and northeastern Missouri, and also in and around Chicago and Milwaukee. Looks like some storms are now just moving into Lake Michigan, and then some scattered storms. Uh, Clusters of storms up in the Dakotas and into parts of Minnesota. Risk areas tonight for severe weather include the Texas coast, east of where the center passes. So that would be mostly southeast Texas and into southwest Louisiana, where we have a marginal risk and a 5% tornado risk there. We also have severe weather risk northwest Texas into Oklahoma and into eastern Colorado. Some marginal risk in northeast Missouri, western Illinois, southeastern Iowa, and a small area of marginal risk in northeast Georgia and northwestern South Carolina and parts of southwestern North Carolina. And then over the next couple of days, it's slight risk East Texas, western Louisiana, and southwest Arkansas. Marginal risk pushing up into southern Illinois. This is from Monday into Tuesday. And that's, of course, with Beryl. So if you take the western edge of that marginal risk, that's probably where you might want to draw the track of the low, coming right up the western edge of that marginal risk. Also, a small area of marginal risk in southwest Texas. And on day 3, we've got a marginal risk in southern Indiana, southwest Ohio, much of Kentucky, central and western Tennessee, and touching extreme southeastern Missouri and southeastern Illinois and northeastern Arkansas. WPC rainfall. So this is wow. This is, at least this is how they're looking at it. And they're looking at it, Joe, from the standpoint of maybe more the European than the GFS, although they do have inch and a half plus rains. And this goes to next Sunday night. So that might include a weather system that could come next weekend. But they've got inch and a half to 2.5 inches plus, and also across upstate New York and in interior New England. But the big stripe here, this is the area from East Texas and Western Louisiana, in that orange area that you see in East Texas that goes into Western Arkansas. That is a stripe of 5 to 7 inch rainfalls, and they've got an area of 7 to 10 inches touching the coast along the Texas coast and then offshore. So, and it sort of matches up if we go to NHC's rainfall forecast map, which I have here. You can see it on a tighter shot. The yellow is 4 to 6 inches, and that goes, that includes Houston. It also includes Fort Smith, Arkansas. Dallas Fort Worth is on the edge of an inch or two. Waco is outside of the inch or two. Lake Charles is in the dark green. That's 2 to 4. Little Rock is on the edge of the dark green. That's 2 to 4 inches of rain. So there you have it. Bring it back
Pretty
here.
much, yeah, it's pretty much the zone, the track of the storm. Mostly, again, based upon climatology, it would be mostly from the storm track and points to the left or to the west of the track.
Right.
Heaviest rains are going to fall, and we'll see again if that area for the track of the remnants of Beryl trend more to the east. In which case, then we'd have a discussion to take under advisement for Wednesday and Thursday of next week in terms of possible heavy rainfall right here in the immediate tri-state New York area. But I think right now, considering that the European and also the Canadian model too is showing most of the really heavy stuff passing well west and north of the tri-state area. Not that we're not going to see any showers or any rain, but what I'm saying is the drenching or torrential rains that the GFS are alluding to. At the moment, I would not put too much credence on, at least not just yet.
Right. So, I went to get my phone because I want to pull up my Tempest weather station, OBS. And today, all right, now it's saying, see, right, it says 1.34 inches of rain is what I got. I thought it was more like an inch and 3/4 because I saw it print up that way, but I guess after fix whatever it fixed. 1.34. That's the most rain in over 2 weeks. The My high today, Joe, was 86.9 after a low of 68. Now, yesterday's high was 89.1. The high on July 5th, which was Friday, was also 89.1. The 4th of July was the hottest day that I have experienced here since I moved here 3.5 years ago, Joe. 95.9
Wow.
was my high temperature.
And that's at
And
2,200 feet, folks.
yes, 92.1 on the 3rd, 85.1 on the 2nd, 92.8 on the 1st. So that's the 95.9 is the highest temperature that I have seen here since I moved here three. And by the way, I think I counted the other day. What was it? I think 11 times. I've been over 90 degrees 11 times so far this for June and July. The June didn't hit 90 in May, but in the month of June and so far in the month of July, 11 days above 90, which is more than the last 3 summers combined. And by the way, the lack of rainfall. I'm talking to you and scratching my leg because I got this morning and I was out in the yard and I was watering my garden. Horse flies everywhere.
Wow.
I brought back memories of George Jones Beach laying on the sand in a northwest wind coming in off the bay and having those mothers come down and land on you and take huge chunks of flesh out of your body. And it actually did take a chunk of flesh out of the bottom of underneath on my leg, like
I forgot now. Those are the ones with the gold or greenish. Uh,
well, either one, the greenish ones.
yeah.
Yeah, they come with their own forks and knives,
Oh,
and they got their, they got the napkin tied around their necks when they land
yeah.
on you.
Yeah.
And those mothers hurt.
And nasty.
Yeah. Let me see if I can bring up my fish, because I know you're dying to see my spotted bass. Um, but here it is. This was yesterday, and yesterday I was out on Lake Chatoog. So there are three lakes close to me, three big lakes close to me, and now I fished on all three of them. Lake Nottely, Lake Hiawassee, which I fished in early June, and now we can add Lake Chatoog, and that is one of the four spotted bass that I caught.
I'm noticing on the chat board a name that I've not seen before. Romper Ruined.
Oh, now that is clever. Did it scar you that badly? Where is it? I don't see it.
Romper
Romper,
Romper
romper.
Ruined.
Well, Romper Ruined, welcome to the chat board. And I hope that, you've come to terms with whatever Romper Room did to you, or for you. I don't see it. Romper Ruined. That is
It's
so.
there. I would not
Oh,
have the.
there he is. Yes, I see it. Well, the cat board is also a good place for therapy,
Yes.
depending on who's on. So,
Christopedia says, was your name never said into the magic mirror?
well, you know that you and I have had this conversation. You'd sit there glued to the TV set. Wait, did she ever say Joe? I don't think so. I don't think I ever heard her say Joe in that magic mirror.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Romper, stomper, bumper, boo. Tell me true. Magic mirror, tell me today, or all my friends are out at play.
I see now I remember a lot of things. That's not one of them.
That's one of them.
That is not one of them.
Oh,
I
God.
oh well. Anyway. All right. Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. Whoops. There we go. Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast brought to you by Tempest by Weatherflow, a revolutionary Tempest weather system. Get it and join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link is on the descriptor to this podcast. And use the coupon code.
Oh, that's for me. I'm sorry.
Wait, let me do it again. Use the coupon code.
Summer 2024,
If you do, you will get.
10% off.
And if you don't use the coupon code,
You won't get 10% off.
all right. It was also your opportunity that you could have said summer 2024 a second time.
As adding here, she said she had to have a list. There must be a list somewhere. She said, "I'll search the depths of the interwebs for it."
Oh, right. She's on the dark. Yeah, she's on the dark web. And then I do remember they switched hosts. Didn't they switch hosts?
Oh, they had so many different. I remember the first host I remember was Miss Joan. Then there was Miss Frances. Then there was Miss Louise.
I don't remember any of those. I guess I didn't watch the show as closely as you did.
Well, there was in later years when it switched from Channel 5 to Channel 9, WWOR, Romper Room, and the whoever it was, she used to have exercising with the kids, and Miss whoever it was wearing a very tight fitting danskin, you know, whatever you want to call it that, and I'm flicking around the dial. And I come across that, and I said, "Whoa, that'll make more of the fathers probably tuning in."
Right, yeah.
They never. All I said to myself afterwards says they never had Miss Francis or Miss Joan get dressed up like that.
No, they certainly didn't.
Yeah.
All right, folks. So we'll be back tomorrow night at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time. Night, night.
Good night, folks.